Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Uncorked with Funny Wine Girl. This is Funny Wine Girl, aka Janine Luby. And it's still the dog days of summer. And those of you who listen to me from time to time know that I'm not a huge fan of hot weather. And I'm certainly not a fan of the humidity, although I'm grateful to have a friend who has a nice pool that I've been dipping into, and that feels good. And I have a little bit of air conditioning, just the kind that you put in your window, not central air. So I'm grateful for that because I know there are people who don't have those luxuries, but I would be happy for the fall. That's just me. I'll be happy for the fall. But we're talking about today, what we're going to talk about are some activities that are good in the summer and they can extend into the fall. Yard sales, heading out there, looking for bargains. And my guest this week is actually also my podcast sponsor, Gabby Lynn of Reinvented Threads. And I wanted to show you first, before I start talking to Gabby, for folks who go on YouTube, some of the lovely items that Gabby has made. These are her Artie Monster dolls, and little tag on the back that says Artie Monster. And this one has "Be Kind" on it. So, like, I'm gonna hold this one up and say, "Hello, everyone. Let's pay special attention to be kind, because Lord knows we need more of that in the world right now. Well, we need it always, but I feel like we need it really badly right now." And this one I have to say is my favorite because it says laugh. So it's Laughing Lottie, and she has a rolled up scroll in her little pocket here. So cute. And then we have this one that says mindful, which I also love. I love the little legs. So cute. And I bought a few years ago from Gabby, and we'll get into what she's making now. But these are great for the summertime. They're like a tote bag, but they're cylindrical. And I have a few of them because they're the perfect kind of thing if you're going to a concert or something like outdoors, and you can sling it across you and you can put your water bottle in it. You could fit your phone. I've done that. I've actually taken it somewhere and put a bottle of wine in it because this one is nice and tall. So you can take it somewhere, you can sling it across your body. But Gabby Lynn makes all kinds of things, hence the name Reinvented Threads. She reinvents from the fabrics that she gets from consignment shops, yard sales, all different places. And she makes these lovely items, handbags, bucket hats, all sorts of things. So she is a master of yard sales. So we're going to talk today about her strategy, what she looks for, how she incorporates it into her business. And it's all about being eco-friendly, or eco-friendly, if it's the better way to say it. So welcome, Gabby Lynn. It's so nice to see your face. Thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thanks, Janine. Thanks. And thanks for sharing those things. I love it when I see things that I've made some time ago, and people show them. Oftentimes I meet people, at shows and things, and they say, "Look, here's my bag," and it's like visiting old friends. I love it. It takes me back. I start thinking, "Oh gosh, I remember that. That was one of those water bottle holders you showed was an upholstery swatch, and I remember that and thinking, "Oh, I love those colors. The orange and the
one
pink."
because it feels nice and thick. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this one reminds me of like that. Monet, like that's water lilies, or so. Yeah. These are great.
Yeah. And then the Artie Monsters, of course, from all kinds of different pieces of fabric that I had left over.
And I love I just even like, I knew it before, but to look at it tonight, the back of like Laughing Lottie, her little polka dots. I mean, how much fun is she? Like, oh my gosh, I just love her. They're adorable. And I know, I don't know if you have a lot of people who buy them for their kids or grandkids, but like I got them from you, and I just like them because I like to give them a hug sometimes, or just like set them up next to my desk and just look at them and be like,
Yeah. Actually, I have a lot of adults that buy them for themselves, actually. To put on their desk or something, just little reminders of things to do or things to be. Thanks for the yard sale thing. Every Saturday now, when I'm not doing shows, I'm out with hubby Tom at yard sale. So as an upcycler, of course, I have a real soft spot for those kind of things. The rest of the year I'm in, thrift stores, and I still, of course, visit thrift stores and things, but yard sales or garage sales, whatever they're called, just great. Love them. Fabrics that people don't want, clothing, and just the thrill of the chase, rifling through other people's discarded clothing and textiles and finding treasures. I love it. Love it, love it.
Yeah.
And my dad kind of, when I was growing up in England, Dad was a real. We used to go to car boot sales, same kind of thing in England, except the farmers would rent out their fields when they weren't being used, and you'd go and drive your car onto the field, and so you'd have rows of cars, and they'd lift up the what you'd call a trunk here, but the boot, the back of the car, and you'd take all your stuff out, maybe put a table up, and then people would sell things that they didn't want anymore, and so my dad used to always take me to those, and ingrained in me the real kind of tradition of you've got to buy things that are already have been used and been loved, and repurpose them or just reuse them. So I always do. My kids grew up. Saturday morning in England, we'd go and walk up the high street, and there were all the charity shops, all the Goodwill stores, and then Sundays typically we'd go to the car boot sales. So the tradition remains. I came to America and still go and seek out those treasures at these kind of venues every weekend.
Yeah, there might be different names, but let's face it, it's very similar to what do they still
Mm-hmm.
do that? Like in England, do they still do that kind of tradition with the farmers? Although I'm sure a lot of things have changed through the years.
Yeah, I think you can still find car boot sales, but typically, in parking lots and things like that. But yes, they're still called car boot sales, and yeah, still people, wanting to rifle through other people's junk.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the truth. That's the funny part because it is interesting to see what other people have. But even things like, I know I live next door to my parents and, looking in the cellar, some of the things they've saved and like they've even forgotten about, like, my mom wants to, she's been saying this for the past year, let's get rid of stuff in the cellar. Let's get rid of stuff. And they're one box. You never know what's in a box. I opened it up and it was these like glasses that were sold at McDonald's. McDonald's had done, and Burger King, all those fast foods had different like theme glasses. And they were like, whatever, it was part of a meal and you'd get a drink in it. But it's like, one is like the Hamburglar, one is Grimace, one is, and you look online like, oh, what are they worth now? But like everyone's got some kind of treasure in there, whether it's in their attic or their cellar. And at some point, they're like, okay, we need to get rid of these, which is where yard sales come into play. And you get to like you said, rifle through. And how much fun must that be for you looking at the textiles and the fabrics and like, when you pick those up, I know for me, if I was picking something up and I don't do obviously what you do, but I'm drawn to colors and, like, ooh, that's a bunny or something, like just something that draws your attention. Do you ever get an idea of like, okay, I know what this is perfect for? Or is it more of you being attracted to like the color and the textile of the pattern?
It's all of the above, really. I can look at a jacket. A lot of times I'll see jackets, things like Chico's jackets. They often have great fabrics, wonderful fabrics. I think, oh, that would make a great, great bag. So things like that. And then, this time of year as well, I'm thinking about, okay, wool jackets, men's kind of tweedy jackets and things that I find, sports jackets, great bags, but also great winter bucket hats, wools and things. So I'm looking at those and I'm finding those. I just found a whole bunch of silk ties, pure silk ties. And I thought that, interesting. And, it's getting on for scarf season. Next shows that I'm going to do is in August, towards the end of August. And so people will start thinking about scarves and things. I thought, well, how about making some silk scarves out of ties? Mixing them with, I've got some old silk shirts and things as well that I found, and actually a big container full of just silk stuff that I've just found over the years. And so I've just put together, I think, 15 patchwork silk, pure silk, infinity scarves for the next show. Really just inspired by that sort of container of silk ties. And that's one of the things, like one of the tips for the yard sailing people is oftentimes, if you're looking for things, this was a big container of silk scarves, and I started kind of, picking them up. Thinking, oh, this is a nice color, that's a nice color. And then Tom, my husband, looked over my shoulder and said, why don't you just ask them how much is it for the whole lot? So I did, so I got a real bargain instead of them being, I don't know, can't even remember, a couple of bucks each. They just said, oh, give us $10 for the whole lot. Fine, and I got to take the container with me as well. So, it oftentimes, if you're doing that, asking, hey, for a bundle is kind of a package price, how much, that can be a really good thing too. Obviously, those are things you can't do at thrift stores, but yard sales, particularly if you're there towards the end of the show, the end of the sale, it's like 12 o'clock and they're finishing at 12 and you just quickly drop by this one. A lot of the times, oh yeah, just take it, give me $5, and perfect. So yeah, bargain hunting is definitely part of the game.
Yeah, oh sure. Yeah. And I mean, let's face it, I know a woman who held something recently, and I think it was one of those, Sundays so typical of this summer where we probably had a little storm at some point. So I don't know if stuff got wet or not, but it was a Sunday. She was doing it the whole day. And I saw on Facebook, well, at the end of the day, she basically put everything out in her, driveway free. Come and pick it up. And of course, I was looking and I was like, those chairs look good. And I was looking at a few things and I did get up there. She was not too far from my one friend out that way. And it was two days later. And I'm like, well, I don't know if she'll have anything left. She had a couple items left, but not the things that I had my eye on. But like they probably figure, like you're saying, that's a great way to do it. Like, well, what if I take this whole bunch? Because they just really most people just want to clear the stuff out. They don't want to have to put it back in the attic or back in the garage or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, that the topic of rain, the tablecloth that I use on my show display, it's a kind of off-white pure cotton beautifully embroidered tablecloth. I actually found it was a community yard sale. So everybody, it was actually in Freemansburg, which is fairly near to me. So just a long sort of main street. And everybody was kind of on the sidewalk, with their wares, selling whatever they were getting rid of. And it started pouring down with rain, absolutely pouring down with rain. And so a lot of people were just, packing up and everything. And there was just one man that was drenched and he had cardboard boxes of stuff. So all the cardboard was starting to, kind of get all mushy and everything. And I saw this off-white linen tablecloth thing, and I picked it up and it was soaking wet and it had bits of the cardboard on and everything. And I said to him, oh, this is nice. How much for this? He said, oh, just give me $1. Just take it. Just give me $1. I don't want to put it back inside. And I took it, and I've had so many comments, and then I washed it and spent 3 hours ironing it because it was, I wanted it to be pristine. But I've had so many comments and compliments on it. It's absolutely gorgeous. I think it's quite old. And he said it was from his grandmother's attic. He was cleaning out his grandmother's place. So it's absolutely gorgeous and just well worth $1.
Oh, I'll say, yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's funny you say it's like the thrill of the chase, though, because I think a lot of people who do go to yard sales, it is like, ooh, what can I get for my $10 today? How many things can I get and how many, which is why, and I think when last time we talked about this, I said, which is why I don't love to be a seller at one. My friend used to hold them and I keep saying I want to have one because I have so much stuff to get rid of. But I never liked the people who were like, you have a necklace, this beautiful necklace or something, a nice costume jewelry necklace that, I barely wore and I have $7 on it. And they'll be like, will you take $1? And I'm like, no, because I just get aggravated at that kind of stuff. And I literally will be like, no, I'd rather give it to Goodwill. I just do that. I'm like, come on, you go from like $7 down to $1, like meet me in the middle.
Yeah. Tom, my husband, is an absolute master at negotiation. In fact, I refer to it as his Saturday morning sport. He'll go out there and haggle with people just for the fun of it. And he'll end up giving them what they wanted, but he just wants to see if they'll budge. And it's so funny. But he's also very good at talking people down. I don't know if it's just a British thing, but I went up to, it'll be $10. I say, oh no, take 12, whereas he'll say, oh no, I'll give you $2 for it or something. I'll just like, oh no, I know how precious it is to you. So I don't want to cheapen it. So here, have more money. He's completely the opposite and has no shame in doing it either. And it's lovely and charming with it, but just, he has a lot more cheeks than I do.
That's so funny that you said that about giving them more. And I probably said this before too, but the one time I did do that, my friend was laughing so hard because it was just the way I was so surprised. It was like a Tommy Hilfiger purse. And I was just like, and it was cute. I mean, and it was in good shape. I'm like, oh, how much for this? And she was like, oh, I don't know, $2. And I'm like, $2? That's it? And then I think she's like, all right, well, you can give me 4. And I'm like, okay. My friend is like, you're not supposed to talk them up in the price. You're actually supposed to pay what it is or pay less. And I was like, okay, I'll shut up in the next garage that we go to.
Yeah. And there are some times when there's something that I really, really want and it's quite pricey that I'll go over to Tom and say, hey, can you get this for me? And he'll go and do the negotiating, particularly if he's already got a kind of a handful of stuff. I'll just say, throw it in and see if they'll do you a deal on everything. And he's the best person for doing that. So that's great. It would not be the same fun time if I didn't have him in my corner. That's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And did you say before we hit I hit the record button, is there an app that you use or was that for something else?
There is. It's called, I think it's Garage Sale app, GSALR.com, Garage Sales by Map. And what it does is you can see your location. It kind of puts a pin in where you are, and then it shows you yard sales in the vicinity of where you live, and you can set it to 20 miles or whatever. And so Saturday morning we sit out on the porch, have our coffee, and we map our route. Where are we going to go? Where's the closest one? Then we'll go to this one. Then we'll go to that one. And you can, as you hit each one, you can do the directions. So, in the car, you can map out the route. It's really good. I was listening to somebody the other day that was actually, somebody sent me something saying, oh, have you seen this? Where you can ask Chat GPT or an AI tool. These are the places I want to go, or yard sales in my area, and it shows you everything, and then you can do it all using AI. I haven't done that yet. I love this app. This is great. And there's also another one called I think something like Lehigh Valley weekly yard sales and weekend fun or something, and we checked that one too. And pet peeve is when somebody has it still on the app, they haven't taken it down, and you go all around the houses to get there only to find it's not happening anymore, which is just yard sale time, precious yard sale time wasted.
That's got to be frustrating. Like, oh, why did you remove that? You should have deleted that.
I know. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty handy then.
It is. It's really good. I mean, I don't know. A lot of people will put signs out on the street. So, in fact, tonight we went out to grab something to eat, and as we came back, somebody had put a yard sale sign out that there's one going on tomorrow. So Tom's going to hit that one tomorrow. Anything that happens on a Friday, he typically goes to that one, because usually they're Friday, Saturday, and oftentimes Sunday. He hits that one first and lets me know whether there's anything good for me there or not. And a lot of times too, God bless him, he'll go to one and then he'll send me pictures. Do you want this? Look, they're selling this. I can pick this up. He's bought me a couple of mannequins like that. So I actually have in my sewing room, I have really rather too many mannequins, but hey, it's good company. So.
They're pretty cool. We have a place here on and on that's vendors and different vintage stuff, and then some local artists have things, and they had I think it was from, let's say, the torso up to the head, and it was like cool. And I first of all, I kind of looked at it and was like, I would like that as just a decoration, but then I'm like, okay, you don't need to spend your money on this, but it looked pretty cool. I was thinking of getting it.
Yeah, they're pretty neat. They are pretty neat, and he's always looking out for stuff for me, which is great. He kind of knows me by now and the things that I want. And I think I may have mentioned it to you before. If we're out, walking or anything, and I say to somebody, "Oh, I love your shirt," he'll say, "Be careful, she wants it for a bag." So he knows me.
Yeah. Well, I know you were I think you said you were in a waiting room for last time we talked at a doctor's appointment, and someone
Yep.
was wearing, it was something with Chico's, and I think you used the fabric to make a bag or something like that.
No, it was upholstery fabric that I'd found at a yard
That
sale,
was it.
and I'd made a couple of bags out of it. And then we went to my husband's cardiologist, and the waiting room, the chairs had that fabric. So if I'd have taken that bag, we would have been camouflaged,
That's
hidden
right.
in there.
That's
So
right.
yeah. And I see that a lot. I have a lot of people will comment too, when I'm out at shows, they'll say, "Oh, I have a sofa like that, or I have curtains like that." Yep.
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 Yep. So see,
Yeah.
in the what was it? Oh, Julie Andrews, Sound of Music, and then Carol Burnett in her
Yes.
show using the curtains was right in line with what you're same type of thing that you're doing, right?
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing is, along those lines of sort of older, vintage stuff. A lot of the fabric was made so much better, back in the day. You look at some of the clothing and stuff today. Some of the fast fashion stuff. It's just rubbish. It's thin. The seams are not sewn properly, and it's just a quick once and done. And so, I love to look for things that are, that are old, and well loved, whether it's at yard sales, estate sales, thrift stores, just one of the beautiful things as well about yard sales and estate sales and getting out there and meeting the people that are selling the stuff, it's because they have stories to tell about them. Oh, this was I found a beautiful I often look for needle points and tapestries, things that people have embroidery, things that people have sat down and spent hours, putting a lot of love into. And I went to this one place, and this beautiful framed picture, somebody had sat and sewn all this stuff. And the person said, yeah, it was my great aunt, and my mom had it on the wall for a while, but, now my mom's gone and I don't really want it. And so, give me a few bucks for it. And so I took it out of the frame and, made a bag out of it. A lot of the times, the smaller needle points I'll make as pockets on the piece bags, the kind of the patchwork bags that I make. They just make beautiful additions to it, and I love to hear the stories behind it. It was my great aunt, and she sat and did it one summer when she was looking after us, and that kind of thing. It's great, and as I've told you before, you bought stuff from me that. All my bags include a little bio that relays that story, so that you can also, you're not just buying an item, you're buying kind of a piece of somebody else's history and somebody's story.
Yeah, and I love that about what you do. And it's, I mean, not everyone cares about, the environment, unfortunately, and not everyone like is drawn to this sort of thing, but you're getting something so unique that you're not going to be able to order off an app from Target or Amazon or anything like that. Like you said, you're getting literally a part of someone's history, and so many your items are so unique. It's like the things you find and how you creatively put them into, whether it's a bucket hat or a handbag or something, they do tell a story, and that's what I love about them. And I think it's the way that you craft them with such care and kindness and your concern for the planet that I just think people, I mean, I know that attracts, I believe, a certain kind of customer, that it's just lovely, like what you're doing. It's lovely on so many levels. I do love what you're doing.
Yeah, and I'm very very heartened to see that a lot of the people that will come by my stands at festivals and things are a lot of younger kids, teenagers, kids at college, who love the whole idea of upcycling and repurposing, and that's great. We want more of that. We want more of the younger generation to have a feeling for. It's really important. It's really important to stop buying all these fast fashion things and keep renewing our wardrobe with all this rubbish. And have a real appreciation for, for handmade, for, fabric that's still being kept in circulation, which is what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to keep it out of the landfills. I actually just this last week, I went to a yard sale, and I saw one of those water bottle holders hanging on, a stand. This lady had this kind of old clothes horse thing out with the clothing and things on. And I said to Tom, "Oh, I used to have fabric like that." I saw it from a distance. I said, "I used to have fabric like that." And as I walked up to it, it had the Reinvented Threads label on it. And I said to the lady, "Oh, this is mine." She's like, "Yeah, I just never really used it. I want to use a bigger one." So I said, "I'll buy it back from you." So I bought it back from her. And I think I told you too, I before I went on Poshmark and I bought one of my bags back from Poshmark.
Yeah.
I really, really felt like I'd made it because one of my things was out there on Poshmark.
You're right up there with all the designers.
That's it. And then, then I just kind of reworked it a bit. And, somebody had obviously not really used it. I reworked it a bit, changed the flap and put a new pocket on the inside and, and resold it. Just kept it in circulation that little bit longer. So that's really what it's all about. There's so much stuff that gets thrown away. It's horrible. Just trying to keep things in circulation. And I'm always asking at yard sales too, which is again another tip. Even if you don't see the thing out there, ask people, "Hey, have you got any other sewing stuff? Have you got any other pins, brooches, old jewelry?" Because I like to get that. And you've given me some stuff before. Old jewelry, broken jewelry, pins, brooches. I'll use those on the bags too. And I get those typically at yard sales and things as well.
Yeah, and those are things, and that's why I had given them to you, because they were something from a relative that I'm not going to use. I mean, yes, I could donate them to Goodwill, but I mean, anything ornamental like that could be used, because like I did take a sewing class last summer, and I keep saying I still want to learn more of it. But people like you who have a skill, have a gift, a talent, you can, I mean, it could be a piece of broken jewelry, but you could still make it have a new life, reinvent it as something else. And so whenever I have broken jewelry, I never want to toss it or anything, because I'm like, someone's going to be able to do something with this. It can have another life and another use.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. And that's all part of the fun too. And in fact, what I also do, as well as kind of scouring the yard sales and things for fabrics and kind of trinkets and buttons and bits of lace and things like that, I also, all the year at the yard sales, what I do is every Christmas, every holiday, my kids and my grandkids, particularly my kids, less so my grandkids, but my kids will always get a basket from me, which is filled with things that I pick up from yard sales that I look at and think, "Oh, Evie would like this, Josh would like this, George would like this," and I just squirrel these things away as I find them. Lots of things like new candles that somebody's bought, the Bath and Body Work ones, which is $25 or more, that people will pick them up and they'll smell them in the store when you've got all those other smells around. And somebody told me that this is what happened. She smelled the smell when she had all those smells around. Then when she got it home and she opened it up, she didn't like the smell. So here she was, she was selling it for a couple of bucks at her yard sale. So that goes in, Kayla's basket, for Christmas. So I'm always picking up things like that, new things that people have bought and then never used. I'll pick those up and they each, there's an expectation now though, that each one of them gets a basket with these yard sale trinkets that I'm picking up, and it's usually accompanied with some, fresh dried herbs from my garden that I do in the summer. I dry herbs and they all get mixed herbs from my garden as well. But lots of, peppered with lots of things from yard sales, and they love it. And books too. I'm always picking up books. And in fact, sometimes I'll include books in the bag as well. I'll put a little quote from the book on the inside pocket and then put a book in there as well. I just did one with a quote from Florence Nightingale with a little book that I picked up about Florence Nightingale. And then another one that I had, I forget. I did one with The Secret Garden too, with a book, The Secret Garden. So I like to do that too, because, I'm all about literature and reading and words. Love words.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I love the baskets, first of all. I'm like, I want one. No, no, that sounds like a lovely, that sounds like a lovely tradition, though. That sounds really lovely. And I love the idea of like, as you're talking, though, I can, because again, I know what you create, just seeing, one of your bags and like, I'm picturing an old book with, maybe some worn leather. And it's just such the whole thing is a story. And it's got
Yeah.
an older vintage feel to it that's just wonderful. And I know we did talk last time too about this, that you're, with your dad's, he was a man of writing, I believe, and like, so the idea of incorporating words into it, I just love that. So they're not only are they getting an item that's so unique, that has a history, that has a story, but then incorporating words as well. There's just a real romanticism about all of it that I think is really lovely.
Yeah. Yeah. And P.S. the basket typically comes from a yard sale too.
I love it. That's
Yeah.
perfect. It's
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah, and then usually I may buy a tea towel or something to go over the top. And a lot of times I find new tea towels at yard sales too. People have bought them and then they don't want them, or they've been gifted the tea towels and they don't like them, or it doesn't go in their kitchen. So I'll buy those too, and that's what covers the top of the basket, to make it. That's the gift, and then I'll make a big bow for it. So they love it. They love it. There's an expectation. They come every year expecting their basket of goodies. Oh, and by the way, it also includes some English candy usually too. I get it from the British food depot in Allentown, which is fairly near us.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah,
wonderful. That
yeah,
sounds like a great gift.
yeah,
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and that's a good thing too to look out for. There are a lot of people who will have things that were never used, like you said,
yeah. Oh,
completely
yeah,
brand new with the tags on them, just because. I mean, and I don't want to say not dissing anybody, but there's a certain level of like sometimes that we're lazy, right? We buy something, we're like, oh, I'm not taking it back to the store, or maybe it
yeah,
wasn't that much to begin with. You're like, oh, I'll give it to somebody or I'll do whatever, and it sits in your closet, and you're like, okay, I'm going to put it out for the yard sale. So yeah, you can definitely pick up. I've seen a lot of that at yard sales, a lot of brand new things. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And people get gifted things too that they don't really want. So they just get rid of it. So yeah, I've had some really good finds, from yard sales, and I've always got my eyes open for fabrics, but also for gifts I can give to people. It sounds a bit cheap, but why buy new when there's stuff already there? And most of the people that I talk to at yard sales say, I'm just going to take it to Goodwill at the end of the day anyway, or they just donate it somewhere. So, just buy it, is what I say.
Yeah. No, I love that idea. And I think, I mean, again, this is me talking. Obviously, you want to give something that's in nice condition. And I know we're talking
Yeah.
about that, but I think there's something like it's really thoughtful. Like if someone, one of my friends, she had picked up a bangle at St. Joseph's, is a local. It's like a hospital here that's taking care of years back an orphanage and people with cerebral palsy. So they have a lot of fundraisers. Well, they do like their own big yard sale a few times a year. Well, my one friend knows I love Van Gogh, and she got me this bangle that's like got Starry Night on it. And I mean, that was a
Wow.
bangle from a yard sale. And then she picked it up, and it was for like one of those no reason gifts, because it was just, she saw it, thought of me. Oh, I saw this and I know you love Van Gogh. And I mean, to me, that's very special. Like I appreciate a
Yeah.
thoughtful gift like that. So it's like, yeah, so what if it was worn on someone else's wrist before? I don't care. It was just lovely that she thought of me. And yeah, I do love Van Gogh, and it's really cool. It's on a
Yeah.
bangle. It's cool.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of people, I've got 6 grandkids, and we're always looking out for, for clothing and, and shoes and things for them. But they're in their clothes for 5 minutes, particularly the younger ones. I brought my kids up that way, and there's no shame in it. Why spend $30 on a pair of shorts for an 8-year-old when you can go to a yard sale and pick up 5 pairs for $5? They're in them 5 minutes anyway. So we're always picking up stuff for the grandkids too.
Yeah. No, and especially the
Yeah.
real young ones who are like growing out of things so quickly. Like
Yep.
why it's literally like wasted money. And sometimes maybe they don't even get around to wearing whatever because they've already grown out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, but I do love it, and that is our Saturday morning sport. And in fact, we were just talking about it this morning. What, which yard sales are we going to do on Saturday? We were a bit disappointed because last week, because of the July 4th holiday, there wasn't a lot going on. So typically they go from May, end of April, May time through to September, end of September. So but then the shows and things start up for me then. Typically July I don't do any art or craft shows because it's too hot, and I've had my tent ruined at a show, but through the storms and the wind and everything, and just figured, what, it's just not worth it to stand out there in the oppressive heat and be subjected to shows closing because of the storms, which is is a good call from festival people, but just. So August, I have July off, and then August it starts up again.
Yeah. So then you'll wind down with your Saturday morning trips, right, to the yard
Yes.
sale. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to review some of the tips we had. So you had said one thing is if there's like a bin or something, like offer like, hey, like a bundle, because why, if you're
Yep.
rooting through it, hey, we take $5, we take 10, whatever. And then your second tip was, if they have certain things like, oh, do you have any more like this, or
Yes.
like, so
Yeah.
because a lot of times they might, and maybe they just didn't think to bring them out, or oh yeah, I do, by the way, have another box of whatever, especially certain
Yep.
things that you have a lot of. You might see people who have a
Yes.
lot of things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. In fact, we just, this last yard sale that we were at last week, they had this big tray full of pens and highlighters in new packs. An ex-teacher, and I know the kids are all about to go back to school, and we're about to go up to Maine to visit our oldest grandkids, who are 12, 13, 14, and 15, and so I said, how much for the whole tray? So I've got them a whole bunch of pens and highlighters and stuff. And she wanted $5 for the whole lot. And they were all marked like 50 cents or $1, but well worth it. So yeah, even if you're going around and you see different things and you've got now a handful of stuff, just asking them, will you do a package deal? A lot of the times they will, even if it's, because some people will mark their things at yard sales, some don't, but some will, when you ask them, they'll say, yeah, $5 for that, $3 for that. But then now you have a handful of stuff, they'll say, yeah, just give me $10 for the lot. And that can work too, that kind of package deal. Another tip, definitely always take cash, small change. If you can, there's nothing more infuriating for people. You can see it on their faces when it's, you're the first person there and you give them a $20 or $50 bill. Not good form. So taking small change is a good rule of thumb. And also it's good in terms of negotiations. In terms of, okay, you want $6 for this? Hey, I've got a $5 bill rather than giving you a 10 and making you use 4 of your ones. How about that? Oh yeah, I'll just take the 5, right? So that can work in your favor as well, but definitely good form to take small bills change.
Yeah. It's kind of not, as you're saying, in good form to be like, okay, will you take $3 for that? And then you pull out a 50. Okay, but I need change for this 50. It's like, yeah, get the hell out of here. I always like
right.
that example. And I think I'm sorry, I probably mentioned it before, but it cracks me up. I talked before about people wanting things cheaper. And it's like, the Modern Family episode where, Jay, the character, is in this beautiful house and he has like an ashtray, and the guy's like, will you take 50 cents for this? It's chipped. And he's like, no. And he's like, you're haggling me living in this house? He's like, you're haggling me wearing that Rolex? It's like this back and forth. It's like for an ashtray. And again, it's the sport really is what it's all about, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right. But yeah, it's good because I'm always picking up unusual stuff too. Estate sales are great. I love estate sales. I mean, it's always very sad because most of the time they're having an estate sale because somebody's passed away and they're cleaning out granny's or mum's or dad's house, and it's very sad. And I've found some things in those types of estate sales that have actually brought me to tears because it's just so sad. And people, then somebody says, I don't want that memory anymore, and so I'll take it and embrace it and make it live on, make it come back to life, that memory, which is great. But but I love sometimes some of the things that you find at estate sales and you know, sales of just great, you know, rummaging through. It sounds awful, rummaging through like closets and, you know, and drawers. I found some vintage tablecloths. Well, not vintage. I suppose some of them probably were, but they were ones of this lady had obviously done a lot of traveling. And the person I talked to said that, yeah, once their father had passed away, their mom decided to go on lots of trips to places that she'd always wanted to go because her father had been quite poorly and hadn't been able to travel. So now she's just decided, I'm going to go off, and had bought tea towels everywhere she'd gone. So it was from London and New Zealand and all kinds of places, and just squirreled them away in this drawer in her kitchen and kind of never really used them, but they were all just souvenirs. And so again, I said, you know, how much for all of them? And I bought them all. And that summer I made bucket hats with all these different places on, you know, Rhode Island, Hawaii, but you know, from the vintage, you know, from the tea towels, because they're all pure cotton, so they made great summer bucket hats. You know, and just people are wearing her tea towels, you know, all around, which is great.
I love that. I really do. And now that's something I have yet to go to an estate sale. I hear people talking about them and I've seen them advertised and everything. I just haven't made it to one. And I really do want to go because again, like the stuff that you could possibly find, it just seems like it would be pretty cool because again, you could be finding things that are like you said, squirreled away that maybe were never used or just some really cool vintage things. I think that would be really
Yeah.
neat. So one of these days I'll get to one of those. They seem like pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, and looking through the bookshelves is always cool too, and lots of old books, and you know, seeing them, you know, written, you know, literary prize 1934 or something, you know, that somebody won that book. It's just amazing, and so I'll buy that too. Just wonderful stuff, you know, all the history, you know, and that's certainly in the things that I make. I try to, you know, pass that on, all the stories and the history. I think it's just nice to have that. I think it makes it so much more wholesome than just buying something on Amazon.
Yeah. Yeah, there's certainly no I hate to say because I've certainly bought my fair share on Amazon, but you're not buying a story, you're not buying history, you're just buying manufacturing, right? You're just buying
Yes.
cookie cutter, whatever the deal of the day. You're not getting a piece of anyone's, memory or history or heart or special story. And there is something completely unique and different from just buying
Yeah.
whatever comes down a conveyor belt,
Yeah. Yeah. And oftentimes I'll find, deals, and I have done it. I did an estate sale. I went, and we actually went on the second day, the last day of it. And two things we got there. One was we were looking for a sofa for our lake house. And we had decided that everything in our lake house was going to be from yard sales, thrift stores. It was all going to be, everything apart from the beds, but the furniture and things like that was all going to come from estate sales, yard sales. And we went to an estate sale, and they had a sofa, which was actually a pull-out couch that this person's mother had, an Italian lady who had plastic all over. She had kept plastic on her sofa, and the guy was saying, "Oh yeah, but your mum would, we could sit on it, but if we had to sit on the plastic, it was always there. It's been on it forever." So we bought it, and it was this last day. It was kind of an hour before it was going to finish, and he said, "Just give me $5 for it, and it's yours." So of course, all its life it had been sat in this plastic. So it was brand new, pretty much. So the design of it was not to my taste, but I just went and got one of those those covers that you throw over a sofa, and it sits up at our lake house now. But it's brand new, and we picked that up. And then at the same yard sale, there was a huge, great big garbage bag of clothing, and I started to go through it, and the guy's like, "Oh, just give me $5 for the whole thing." And when I took it home and opened it up, it had all these vintage clothes in it, dresses, shirts, with the big collars, disco shirts, as I call them. Uh, just an amazing find. So I took them all home. I did take them and get them dry cleaned because, some of the dresses were just gorgeous, like prom dresses and things. And they're actually hanging up in a closet here. As I'm, thinking about, okay, how to really, expand on what I'm doing with Reinvented Threads, I've actually decided it's still in motion. I haven't done it yet, but I've actually decided to put on my website a section called Too Nice to Cut, TNTC, which is where you can buy vintage clothes. You can buy these things because they must have some kind of story. I don't know their story, but just to imagine somebody going out in this dress, some guy wearing this shirt and things, it's just really cool. So I'm actually going to add that to my website, a section where you can buy clothing that I find that is just too nice to cut up. But I'm not going to keep it. I'm not going to wear it, but somebody can wear it. Somebody may want it. I know a lot of people are interested in wearing vintage. So that's coming. I'm probably going to publish that at the end of the summer, put that up online. But just to put some of these things that I find that I think, wow, that's really cool. And then I don't want to cut into it.
I love that idea. And, you mentioned earlier, like the young people that you meet out, a lot of younger people love vintage clothing. And that's, I
Yeah.
love that idea of too nice to cut. I mean, oh my gosh, then they'll still get a second life with someone. It's just that you're
Yeah.
keeping them as is on the hanger, but that's lovely.
Yeah.
I think I like that idea a lot. That sounds very cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Really
yeah.
cool.
So watch this space that's going to come. And I know there's some stigma around you. People say, well, when you buy stuff, you shouldn't be cutting it up. Other people could be wearing it and things. But the truth of the matter is, there's enough for everybody to go around. And if you want that stuff, get out on Saturday mornings and go buy it.
Yeah.
Kind of first come, first served. And I turn it into beautiful stuff. A lot of people love the things that I do. I really enjoy making the things. And as soon as I see something, I have a vision for what it's going to be most of the time. Or I just fall in love with the fabric. Wow, that's such a great print. And sometimes I'll even just fall in love with the story behind it. And then I'll take it, just because I feel like, wow, I need to give this a new lease of life. And I'll sit on it for maybe a couple of years, and suddenly I'll bring it out and, oh, yes, hey, now I have something that will go with it. So, yes, I have a lot of fabric. But, I realized that when I went through my bin of silk, that I have a lot of silk. And that's how I ended up making 15 infinity scarves. Because I used those silk scarves, I blended them with the silk shirts and things that I had in this bin that I've had for years, just thinking, oh, I'll do something with that. I'll do something with that. And every now and again, I'll use silk in something and I'll, go in there and rummage. But this time I actually had the whole lot out and thought, okay, what can I use? What goes with this? What goes with that? So it was a lot of fun. And everybody will see that when I take it to I'm going to the Pocono State Crafts Festival, 23rd, 24th of August.
I was just going to say, let's
Quiet
promote
Valley.
that. It's August, the 23rd and 24th, did you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where is that held?
That's Quiet Valley, Stroudsburg. It's a lovely place. My oldest son usually comes with his wife and kid, and they make a day of it. It's a living farm. So, they have great bread that you can buy there, and just you can go and see the animals and see how the farm works. It's really lovely. And then they have vendors there for the weekend, which is great. It's a lovely show. I've been doing it for several years. Really, really nice show. And then the following week, again, I'm in Stroudsburg. They have Heritage Day in Stroudsburg. I think it's the 30th. It's the last weekend of August. It's just the one day, the Saturday. And there's a show there called Artisans on Anne. And that's just a one-day show, and I do that as well, which is a lovely show. It's actually in a parking lot, and there's a ribbon factory right there as well, so you can go visit there too. A wonderful lady called Anne. She organizes it. She has the potting shed, a little store where she sells. It's a nursery. She sells flowers and things, but also some lovely gifts and things as well in there. She hosts that every year.
Well, that sounds really nice. Quiet Valley Farm, it's funny. I've heard of that like years ago when my friends' kids were little and they were doing like little field trips or class trips there to the farm. So that sounds like a perfect thing to do. They could check that out and then do a little bit of shopping and visit the vendors there. That sounds really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lovely show.
That's
Hopefully the
great.
weather will be good.
Well, and that's the one thing we just can't control, but that can be
Yeah,
tricky, you know.
yeah,
I agree with you on the July taking it off because of the heat because I'm just truly not a fan. I just, not interested
yeah.
in being out there and sweating myself. So I can understand that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's true. It's I did too many shows in July where it's got rained off. We've opened at 10 and closed at 11:30 because of the rain, and it's too much. So, and as I say, I lost a tent one year because it just rained so hard, and then when we took the tent down, didn't take the water off the top, and the whole thing just buckled, and had to
Mm,
buy a new tent. That was not fun.
yeah.
So that was the straw that broke the camel's back, or the rain that caught that broke the tent's back, I suppose. And I just decided, okay, no more, no more. Just squirrel away, do lots of sewing in July, and then embrace the fall months. I love the fall anyway. I do love the heat, but I do love the beauty of the fall. It's just great, and I love making bags for the fall because I can get out all those rich browns and reds. I've just started making some actually browns and reds, and I've got some. One of the things I always look for at yard sales is suede jackets, leather
Mm.
jackets, because I've been incorporating a lot of suede and leather into my bags. And people don't really wear leather jackets like they used to anymore. So I've had some nice vintage kind of bomber jackets, the ones that were kind of gathered at the waist and everything. So I picked those up, and I use the pockets. I use every part of it, but using a lot of leather and suede in my bags now.
I love the fall too. That is my favorite time of year. And all those hues I just love, like the golds and like the reds, the greens, and just that. I love that time of year. And I do like the cooler weather, but it's just you're right. It is such a beautiful time of year with the
Yeah,
foliage. And I can just imagine from your perspective how lovely it is to create designs for that time of year too with those colors. They're
yeah,
they're wonderful. Yeah. Yeah. Well, as we
yeah.
start to wrap up here, I will put in the show notes too. I'll mark down. I want to write down those apps that you mentioned for people to check out because
Right.
I think people who really enjoy doing this like you do, that would be if they don't know about this app yet, I think that could be super helpful for them. Um, and I as I mention every week, because as I said, Gabby is a sponsor, reinventedthreads.com. You can learn, you could see meet the maker, you can learn about Gabby, you can see the online store, you can see the dates of the shows that Gabby's going to be at and all of that information. And you can follow Reinvented Threads on Facebook and Instagram to see, a lot of times Gabby, when she's out, you'll see a lovely photo or video of all the great, beautiful items that she's got there, her products to check out. But is there anything else that you wanted to make a point of? Because I know we spoke a couple months back and we talked a lot about where this, came from, your desire to do all this. And I love what you're doing. But anything else in terms of summertime yard sales or anything coming up in the fall that you wanted to just mention before we close here?
I think just certainly if you haven't been to yard sales, give it a go. It's really interesting. It's really good. You can find some really really good stuff. And if you don't feel like doing that, and look in your closet. A lot of people have clothes and things that they've just sitting on, not worn for years. You think about repurposing them, cutting the arms off something, swapping the arms around from one jacket to another, and let me take the arms off, whatever. Just using things that you already have. But the yard sales are great, and this time of year, just getting out there and seeing some things. We've had got some great things for the house. That would normally would cost us a fortune to get, and somebody else is throwing it away, and so we've got it. So lots of things to be had there. Just not necessary always to buy new. There's lots of things out there that people don't want that you could certainly make use of, and I would definitely encourage it. It's good, and it's good Saturday morning fun.
Yes, especially if you're like Tom and you like the art of the kill there, or I should say the art of the reduction of the price.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, yes, yeah.
And I like to, and this could be another topic another day, but you're saying like a lot of good things for the house that you get. I'm also someone who will take things off of a curb. I've done that many times. I've rescued things from the trash that way. And, through the years, my mother has teased me about it. But sure enough, a couple months ago, there was like a busted up, it was meant to be, I guess, like a little table with that plastic, resin or whatever. And the weaving or whatever you want to say was busted, but it's the glass that sat on top was still in perfect condition. And I saw it and I'm like, I'm gonna go get that, because my mom had another table on the porch that she had wanted to get glass for. Well, sure enough, I bring it home. It's a square, it's the perfect size. So we've got the glass.
Wow.
And my friend Robert had made a square out of plywood and attached it to the base of because the plastic, the resin had busted on the top. So he put like a plaster, some wood on it, I should say, or plywood. And now I'm going to cover that, and it's going to be like a little ottoman or a seat, whatever we want. And I'm like, that was out for the garbage. And I'm like, I
Yep.
saw it and I
Yep.
spun around. The only thing, and I've shared this before on the podcast, I still do that. And I don't know if it's Catholic guilt or what. I still do that thing where I look around and go, is anyone seeing me do this? I feel guilty and I shouldn't.
I hear you. Last weekend, no word of a lie, because a lot of the times to find stuff on the curb, go after when the yard sales are done and you're driving home, you'll see when people have had yard sales, they'll put stuff out for free on the curb. We needed a new toilet for the lake house, and Tom was like, okay, I'm going to have to go and get a new toilet for next time we're up there. We are driving along, out on the curb is this toilet sitting on the curb, and it's pouring with rain. And I'm sitting, and Tom's like, I'm just going to turn around, Gab, let's go have a look. So I turned the car around, and he gets out and he's looking at it. And I said to him, you can't just take it. I don't know why it's there, but you can't just take it. It's my Britishness. You can't do that. And so he's like, oh, I'm going to go knock on the door. So he knocks on the door and disappeared for a while. And then I see him come out with two strapping lads, and they lifted it into the back of my truck. And he got in the car and he's like, yeah, his wife didn't like the color. It didn't go with their bathroom. It's brand new.
Oh my gosh.
The house was mighty big, I might add. So, and so they were just throwing it out rather than take it back. They were just throwing it out. So we've now got that toilet to install in our lake house. And it was free. It didn't cost us anything.
I'm telling you, you have to be on the lookout for these things. In one way, it's kind of sad because of our mentality of this country. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want it.
So throwaway culture.
It's such a throwaway. And we did talk about that before. So I won't keep beating people over the head with it. But unfortunately, we have that culture. But the fortunate part would be for people like you and me who look for, okay, what can we then do with it so it doesn't end up in the landfill? So that's hopefully there's a little balance there, or we're trying to balance it out anyway.
Yeah. I love everything that you're doing with the Restart Scranton and your upcycling stuff. That's great too. Love it.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to try to keep doing that I shouldn't say try. Definitely, in March and April, we had our big pickup litter, save the cool stuff, create the artwork from it. And I want to keep doing more stuff. My dream, and I did mention this in an interview back in May, I think my goal or dream would be to have this actress, Kate Micucci. She's a comedic actress. She plays ukulele. She's super quirky and cute and little. And she goes out, and she was in LA, and she's actually moved back to the East Coast. She's living in New York City now, and she's originally from somewhere in the Lehigh Valley. I don't know exactly which borough, but her family, I don't know if they still live there, but that's where she's from, because she went to Keystone College, which is up here in northeastern Pennsylvania, and she's an alum from there, and she actually came back to speak there. She goes out and she will show on Instagram. She does things kind of like, it reminds me a little bit of Keith Haring. She does these kind of funky cartoonish type things with certain not markers, but paint markers kind of thing, and she will draw on anything that's out in the garbage. So she's done it on toilets, on TVs, on refrigerators that are out on the street, and she's even working on in the East Village in New York City. This, I believe it's an Indian place or a Middle Eastern place. They're letting her basically do that on the outside of their whole restaurant. And I would love, I was hoping, and I'm still working on it because I haven't really been able to make a connection of anybody who's worked at Keystone who might have any idea with the alumni situation, because she did come back to speak, how I could possibly get her attention. I'd love to get her here in Scranton to lead like an afternoon where we hit the streets kind of and, just, I don't know, draw on garbage or, you know what I mean? Just do like a workshop or
Yeah.
something because that's right in
Yeah.
line with what she's kind of doing. And, she'll take her kids out there and they'll even do a little drawing with her. And I just love what she does. She's quirky, she's great. And so that's my big goal in the future. I'd love to get, something like that, a workshop with her or some time with her. But otherwise, I would like to keep it going because I enjoy it and I think we need it. And a lot of people were excited by it. And I think it's important to keep doing those
Yeah.
kind of things. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Definitely.
So
Definitely.
that's
Great.
it. But thank you so much
Okay.
for joining me, Gabby, and for what you're doing.
Thank
And
you.
I mean, I don't like to just throw tons of praise your way, but I'm going to anyway because I love your work. I love your, no,
Thank
truly, I
you.
love your creativity and I love your kindness.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Right back at
Absolutely.
you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. So
All
check
right.
out Gabby out there in coming up at the end of August. Check her out in Stroud, excuse me. I don't know. I can't talk tonight. Stroudsburg, excuse me, in the Poconos. And check out reinventedthreads.com. You can check out the shop there and hopefully you can get to see Gabby in person because there's nothing like looking at the cool stuff and feeling the fabrics and talking to Gabby. Obviously, you can learn maybe the story behind something and I think that would mean a lot too. So and follow reinventedthreads.com on Facebook and Instagram. And thank you to my listeners, as always. In the weeks ahead, let's see what we've got coming. I'm going to be talking with a woman named Stephanie, who is a survivalist. I can't wait to talk to her. She's been focusing on living more simply, a minimalist style, and she's got survival skills. I can't wait to talk to her. I'm trying to connect with a woman who does the STEM program here in Scranton, who gets a lot of young girls involved in that. I'm excited about that. And as I say every week, if there's someone out there that is in your life, a woman that you know that you think is interesting, or if that woman is you, please reach out to me. I'm always looking to have different women on the podcast to amplify your voice and to inform, inspire, and entertain listeners. And if you are interested in sponsoring this kind of content, please reach out to me because it's cheaper than buying a cup of coffee out for a month. So there are packages that are affordable and you can help make sure that women do have a platform where our voices can be heard. So I think that's all I need to say. Thank you so much. As I say every week, I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart and the bottom of my wine glass.